Who?
Gabe.
Tuesday doesn't
Yes, I
count.
was good. The line is away from
No.
We have a free day on the first day of the term.
No.
Yeah.
And
No,
you know
the
how
last
still
day of the
15,
term
he's
gets
18,
catch
he's
up.
saying he's gonna
Yeah.
Okay, listen up.
So funny.
Today we are going on and we are going to be doing some problems. They're kind of like word problems, but you're gonna read through the problem. Every problem makes a right triangle. The hardest part of it is going to be reading through the problem and deciding where the legs go. Like, is it the hypotenuse, is it the horizontal line, or is it the vertical line? So we'll go through some examples like that. In these problems, they're always going to give you, Josh, can you shut that please? If they're, what? Yeah, but right now we need to pay attention, okay? We're doing angles of elevation and angles of depression, so I'll explain what that is. Let's say that you're on the ground and there's a hot air balloon in the air. Your line of sight, if you look straight forward, is just a horizontal line going forward. If you look up at something, okay, you form this angle of elevation between your line of sight and the sight that goes to that hot air balloon. That angle of elevation is going to be like right here, if this was your right triangle, oh, sorry. If that was your right triangle, okay? So it would look like this, okay? Now, there's also gonna be in the same problems, you're gonna have times that it says angle of depression. For angle of depression, Dalton, shut that. That's when you're standing on something and you're looking down at something. So normally you look straight ahead. If you look down at something, you create this angle of depression, okay? Here's the deal. I've been teaching this stuff for 30 years. Kids get problems with angle of depression wrong because they put it in the wrong spot. So what I tell kids, no matter if they say angle of depression or angle of elevation, we're always going to put it right here. Okay? So don't even worry about it. If it says angle of depression, angle of elevation, we're putting it right here in that triangle. Okay? So let's go down here. For this part, we do have to talk a little bit about angle of depression. This just wants us, I'm going to use AOD for angle of depression. That would be this angle right here. So like this pilot of the helicopter looking forward is looking down at something on top of this building. That is angle of depression. And it's going to be angle FLS or SLF, okay? FLS or SLF. L has to be in the middle of that angle, okay? Then we're gonna have an angle of elevation. That is this angle. Somebody's on the top of that building looking up at the helicopter. And when I name that angle, do you guys get that S has to be in the middle? So I could say angle LST or TSL, okay? I'm gonna do LST. Now let's go down to this one, and this is the same thing. Can anyone tell me how I could name the angle of depression right here?
WZP.
Yes, very good. WCP or PZW. And then for the angle of elevation, what would that be?
ZPR.
Yes, very good. Or RPZ, very good. Okay, so is that pretty easy so far?
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to our first word type problem. I did try, you guys, to use problems that weren't as hard. So hopefully, you know, maybe a couple will be hard, but hopefully these are easier than some of them that I do usually use. So, it says a tree is 70 feet tall. This is my tree, okay? The angle of elevation of the sun is 60, and it really should have a degree here. So do you remember me saying your angle of elevation is always right there? So this is 60 degrees. Where do you think the 70 feet tall goes? Does that go vertically or horizontally? Vertically. That's how tall your tree is. And then it says, find the exact length of the tree's shadow. Is the tree's shadow gonna be on the ground?
Yes.
Yes, right? So this is X. Now, you should, after going through these today, get a little more comfortable with the trig ratios.
60 minus 90.
We wanna find this, so we have to use a trig ratio. We have to use sine, cosine, or tangent. This side is what? As opposite, and this one is, do you guys know, think of SOHCAHTOA. Which one is that? Do you know? So this one's opposite over adjacent. Sine, you guys, is opposite over hypotenuse. That's where the SOH comes from. Ka is cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA is tangent is opposite over adjacent. And you have this on your cheat sheet, okay? So now if I look here, what trig function am I gonna use? Tan. So I'm gonna go tangent of 60 equals, now you guys could skip this part, but tan is opposite over adjacent. So then I go tan 60 equals opposite is 70, adjacent is X, okay? Now we have to decide, I just gave the advanced geometry kids a quiz on what we've done so far plus a little bit. Today I got a lot of questions on this. They would say like, how do I know if I do cross products or do I do second tan? Do we know the angle here? When you know the angle, which we do, it's 60 degrees, we do cross products. We do second tan if this had a letter here, okay? I know that angle, so I put it over 1 and I do cross products. So when I do those cross products here, I'm gonna get tangent 60x equals 70. And then I would solve that. Now, how do you solve that? Yep, divide by tangent 60. Okay, so x equals, and if I look at that, I would have 70, whoops, not that, divided by tangent 60. Okay, and that's 40.41, okay? And that is my answer. And whatever units it said up here, that's what your units are right here. Okay, so that's my answer. Now let's look at this one. It says, Maria is at the top of a cliff and sees a seal in the water. So here's what we have. This is a cliff. Maria's on the top of the cliff and she sees a seal out here in the water, okay? Now, the cliff is 40 feet above the water. What distance in my triangle is that? Is it the vertical, the horizontal, or the diagonal? The cliff is 40 feet above the water. Isn't that this? Okay. So what I'm gonna do, this is 40 feet. Then it says the angle of depression is 52. It doesn't matter if it's angle of elevation or angle of depression. We put 52 degrees right there. Then it says, what is the horizontal distance from the seal to the cliff? Horizontal is straight across. This is what I'm looking for, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I have to go ahead and figure out the trig function again. One thing I will tell you guys, the majority of the time in these problems we use tangent. So don't be surprised if you get a lot of tangents. So I'm gonna mark this. What side is the 40 as far as like adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse? This one's opposite, and this side is adjacent. What trig function is that? So I'm going to go tangent of 52. Now you guys can skip this part, but I'm going to go tangent is opposite over adjacent. Then I substitute in what I know. The opposite side is my 40. The adjacent side is my x. Now, think about this again. If you know the angle, you do cross products. Don't we know the angle?
Yes.
So we do cross products. So I'm going to put this over 1. I'm going to multiply here, and I get tangent 52x equals 40. And then I have to solve that. How do I solve it? I divide by tangent 52.
Autumn,
Yeah.
do you think we can just go to example 5?
Can you let me decide that, please? Okay, so this is going to be 40 divided by tangent 52, and that is 31.25. And again, you're looking at what units are you in, and we're in feet. By the way, guys, it does not matter what they ask you to round to. You are always going to round to this 2 decimal places, okay? Now it says, at a point on the ground, 50 feet from the root of a tree, sorry, that's a typo. 50 feet from the root of a tree, the angle of elevation is 53. So this right here is 53, okay? At a point on the ground, 50 feet from the root of the tree. This is the root. This is the point on the ground they're talking about. So that would be 50 feet. Okay? Then they're going to ask you for something, and this one says find the height of the tree. Is that easy?
Yeah.
Height is right here. What trig function is that? So we're going to go tangent 53. Do we all understand why it's tan?
Yeah.
This
Like
is
opposite
opposite
and
and that's adjacent, right? So tangent 53 is going to equal x over 50. So again, I want you guys to think, why did we do the cross products? Because we know the angle, right? We know that angle, that's why we do cross products. Now, do you guys remember when I taught this? If you have a whole number and a trig function, don't I put the whole number in front?
Yes.
So this is 50 tan of 53 equals x, and then I would do 50 times tangent 53, and that is 66.35. Okay, and that's probably in feet again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that is my x. Okay. Let's look at this one. It says from the top of a lighthouse 210 feet high. So let's say this is our lighthouse right here. If it's 210 feet high, isn't that the 210 feet? Because it's height. The angle of depression of a boat, so this is your boat right here, is 27 degrees. No matter what, whether it's elevation or depression, that's where I put my angle of elevation or depression. Find the distance from the boat to the foot of this, I have to fix this, sorry, to the bottom of the lighthouse. So do you get that would be this distance, which is x. What trig function is that? Tangent. So I can go tangent of 27 equals 210 over x. Do I know the angle? So don't I do cross products, right? So I multiply this and I have tangent 27x equals 210. And then I divide by tangent 27. And my answer is, did anyone type that in?
412.15.
Thank you so much. 412.15. Thank you. All right. Now let's go to our last page. Okay. It says, from her positioning in a hot air balloon, Angie can see her car parked in a field. So here's my triangle, okay? Angie is up, please, shh. Angie is up here in a hot air balloon, and her car is here, okay? And it says, Angie can see her car parked in a field. If the angle of depression is 8, and that would be in degrees, this would be that angle, whether it's depression or elevation. Angie is 38 meters above the ground. Do you guys get that? Here's Angie up here. She's 38 meters above the ground. What is the straight line distance from Angie to the car? Here's Angie. Here's the car. Do you guys get this one is the hypotenuse? Okay. What trig function is opposite over hypotenuse? Sine. Very good. So what we would have here, we'd go sine of 8 equals 38 over x. That's opposite over hypotenuse. Again, I know the angle, so this would be sine of 8x equals 38. I would divide by sine of 8. Did anyone do that?
It's 273.04.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more, and we'll just work on it until we go to
If we
lunch.
were to just put the sine of 8 divided, like 30, the
Wait,
number
can you go back
divided
to
by,
that for a
if we were to
second?
just put 38 divided by sine of 8, would that be enough for words? Or like
What's the minimum to get the points? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, cause that's.
Actually,
like
if you gave me this and then the answer, I'd be fine. You gave me this and then the answer,
Alright.
okay? All right, the angle of elevation from a car. Guys, when I'm up here teaching, you're not talking, okay? The angle of elevation from a car to a tower, so this is my tower over here, is 32 degrees. The tower is 150 feet tall. How far, and by the way, this is the car. How far is the car away from the bottom of the tower? Isn't that gonna be this, right? So isn't it tangent again? Tangent 32 equals 150 over x. I do think I put 1 in your homework at least, that you don't know the angle and that's when you have to go second tan. So if you get to that one, when we get back from lunch, you'll know. If you're looking for the angle, you have to do second. What did you guys get for this one? Anyone plug it in? No? Okay, so everybody understand?
Yep.
Okay, you have, I actually made copies of the worksheet today.
I remember the museum from
Somewhere.
That's not how you spell museum.
Do you have these over here?
Go get them, Noah.
What is this?
Hey, you better stay late
Not
and
even
the
a
paper.
You don't have to stay late if it's, you can do it after lunch too.
Wait, where are they?
Oh,
Noah's handing them over. It's taking a sweet time.
where? Oh, not this shit. Valkyrie.
And I don't have any.
I thought you were actually watching me when you were writing. Do you know what you're doing?
I just want to get it started. What's the
You just
answer
made
box?
Two 40.05.
Hey.
Museum for do it.
Yep, that works.
Spell museum right now.
Just remind me.
In the 10th grade.
Hey, were you off your phone today? Was it because you had to charge it, or you were just being smart?
I was being smart. Both, a little bit of both. Cause I knew it was locked in. No distractions.
Oh, good, I'm proud of you.